Alright, so we are on Mathematics Higher Level Paper 2 Khomas region for August 2020 exam. And we are on question, what is this? Question 12 today. Okay, let's have a read. The diagram shows a three-dimensional shape OABCDEFG, this shape here, the base and the upper surface. So the base and the upper surface are identical horizontal rectangles. Okay, that's good. So we know these are 90 degrees in case that plays a role, but they are identical. So the important thing here to note is that this vector will be the same as that vector, will be the same as this vector, and will be the same as that vector. Right, and the same goes for these lines. Those are the same, those are the same, and those are the same. Okay, so that's the important nice thing about knowing they're identical rectangles. Now the parallelograms OAED, so the front and the back, CBFG, both lie in vertical planes. Alright, and points P and Q are the midpoints of OD and GF respectively. So this is the midpoint, which means these two lines are equal in length and these two lines are equal in length. Okay, and unit vectors I and J are parallel to OA and OC respectively, and the unit vector K is vertical. So K, it's important to know, is not on this in this direction. It's vertical. Right, important to notice that. And vertically upwards. The position vectors A, C, and D are given by this. Okay, so OA is 6i. I'm just going to write this down here. So OA equals 6i. OC equals 8j. OC equals 8j. And OD is 2i plus 10k. OD is 2i plus 10k. Great. Okay, so that's important to know. Now they ask us the first question, express each of the vectors PB and PQ in terms of I, J, and K. Okay, so let's see what can we do for PB. So from P all the way to B. How do we get this? We have to start at P and end at B. So I think I'm going to take this route, that, and then that. Okay, so that is, let's just write down PB is equal to PO plus OA plus AB. Alright, so let's see, what do we have? So OA, we have AB is exactly the same as OC, so we have that one, but PO we don't have. So let's write down here in the rough work PO. What will PO equal? So PO is, since these two are the same lengths, PO and PD, then we know that PO is half of DO. Okay, so it's half of DO. And DO is just the negative direction of OD, which we have. So I'm just going to say it's negative half of OD. Okay, so that gives us negative half of, and OD is 2i plus 10k, which gives us negative half. Oops, let's multiply the negative half in. So 2 times negative half is negative 1i, and 10 times negative half is negative 5k. Alright, so PO is negative I minus 5k, and then OA is 6i, and AB is the same as OC, so that is 8j. Okay, let's collect our like terms. So negative I plus 6i is 5i, and then 8j, and negative 5k. Good. And now let's do the same idea for PQ. So PQ, let's see, which direction will we use for PQ? So for PQ, we'll probably do PD, DG, and GQ. Okay, so PD, so that's equal to PD plus DG plus GQ. Okay, PD, so again, that's just half of OD. Okay, so let's do that in rough work. So PD equals half of OD, which is a half of 2i plus 10k, and that gives us 1i plus 5k. Okay, so PD is 1i plus 5k. then DG. DG is the same as OC, so that's 8J as we can see here. So DG is 8J. And then GQ. GQ is just half of GF, and GF is the same as OA. So let's write that down. GQ. So GQ, we said is the same as half of OA. Half of OA. So that means it's half of 6I, which gives us 3I. So GQ is 3I. Okay, let's collect the like terms. So I plus 3I is 4I. And then we've got, where's the J's? 8J. And finally plus 5K. Nice. Okay, all done. Now they ask us in the second question, question B, determine whether P is nearer to Q or nearer to B. Okay, so what we can do is we can find the length of PQ and the length of PB and just check which one is the shortest. That'll be the nearer one. So we're going to compare the magnitude of PQ with the magnitude of PB. And remember our little arrows. Okay, so to find the magnitude, it's just the square root of the components squared. So for PQ, we have 4 squared plus 8 squared plus 5 squared. Okay, so 4 squared, that's 16, 8 squared is 64, and 5 squared is 25. And finally that gives us 16 plus 64 is 80, plus 25 is 105. Okay, then we can do the same for PB. So again, it's just the square root of the components squared. So PB, so we have 5 squared plus 8 squared plus negative 5 squared. And that gives us 5 squared is 25, 8 squared is 64, and negative 5 squared is also 25. Okay, so 25 plus 25 is 50, and 50 plus 64 is 114. Okay, so we can see PQ is shorter than PB. So let's just write that down. So PQ, magnitude of PQ is less than the magnitude of PB. So that means P is closer to Q than it is to B. So P is nearer to Q. Great. Now use a scalar product to find angle BPQ. Okay, angle BPQ. Okay, so if we draw that vector and that vector, so we have to find this angle. Let's call it theta. Okay, so to find that, they tell us to use a scalar product. So let's do that. Okay, so we know cos of our angle that we want to find is the scalar product of the two things. So scalar product of PQ and PB divided by the magnitude of both multiplied together. So divided by the magnitude of PQ times the magnitude of PB. Alright, so let's work this out. So scalar product PQ dot PB. The scalar product is you just multiply the components together and then add them. So we can see the first component, the i's, so 4 times 5. I'm just going to use this because it's closer on the screen, but here we can say 4 and 5. 4 times 5 plus 8 times 8 plus 5 times negative 5. That's the idea. Okay, so as we can see here, 4 times 5 is 20. So that gives us 20. And then we've got 8 times 8, so that's plus 64. And then we've got 5 times negative 5, so that's negative 25. Negative 25. Over, and the magnitudes we just worked out. So for PQ, it was square root of 105, square root of 105, times the square root of 114 for PB. Let's just simplify that a little bit. That's 84 minus 25, that gives us 59 over, and I'm just going to write this down in square root form and use the calculator to solve this. Okay, so cos theta equals that. So if we want to get just theta, we can say theta is the arc cos or shift cos of this whole thing. 59 over square root 105 times square root 114. Okay, let's type that on our calculator. I think I've just calculated this. So arc cos of 59 divided by the square root of 114 times the square root of 105, and that gives us 57.37. Okay, so that equals, that means theta is 57.37, And we're told in the instruction sheet to round off to 1 decimal place for angles, so that'll be in this case 57.4 degrees. Okay, yeah, that's it for question 12, and then I'll be back with question 13 shortly.